All right, today we are going to look at solving equations with rational exponents, and we are going to be doing these without a calculator. So what that might look like is sometimes we're going to leave an exponent in our equation instead of solving it all the way out, because if you don't have a calculator, some of these numbers are really big and I don't expect you to be able to do that in your head. So these are the steps you're going to follow. First, you're going to isolate the base, the part your exponent applies to. Once that has been done, you're going to raise both sides of your equation to the exponent's reciprocal, meaning you're going to flip your fraction upside down and do any more algebra required to get x alone. All right, so let's jump into example A here. The base is x to the 6/5. That's what I want to get by itself. So using order of operations, the first thing I need to do is add 4. So 7x to the 6/5 is going to be this big old number with an 8 on the end instead. Then the next thing I need to do to get x to the 6/5 by itself is divide both sides by 7. So x to the 6/5 is going to be 26,144. So my base is by itself, and I'm ready to get rid of my exponent. I'm going to do that by raising both sides to my reciprocal. So 6 over 5 upside down is to the 5 over 6. So that's going to look like 26,144 to the 5/6 power. And you're just going to leave it like that because I don't expect you to know the 6th root of that number and then to be able to raise that to the 5th power without a calculator. So you're just going to leave your answer in that format. Okay, let's look at B. Again, my base here is x, so I'm going to subtract 12 first. So that'll be 12,500. I'm going to divide both sides by 4, and x to the 5/8 is going to be 3,125. My base is by itself, so I'm going to raise both sides to that reciprocal. So that means x is going to be 3,125 to the 8/5 power. Again, just leave it like that because I don't expect you to be able to do that without a calculator. Okay, moving on to C. First, I need to subtract 10. So that is going to be equal to 18. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So 6 minus 3x to the 1/2 power is equal to 6. Now here, my exponent is to the 1/2 power. So the reciprocal of that is going to be the 2nd power. So I'm going to square both sides. So 6 minus 3x is going to be equal to 36. This I know I can solve all the way through. I'm going to subtract 6, divide by -3, and I get that x is -10. That one I was able to get an actual answer for. Okay, moving on to D. I need to add 3 to both sides. Okay, and then I'm going to divide both sides by -3. Oh, I forgot my exponent here. To the 5/3 power. So that's 1,024. Now I need to raise both sides to the 3/5 power. So 3x minus 23 is going to be 1,024 to the 3/5 power. Again, I don't expect you to know the 5th root of that. So this time, though, x is still not by itself. So we're going to do some algebra. You're not going to change this, but you can still add 23 and divide by 3. So we're just going to leave it like this. So adding the 23 and then dividing the whole number by 3. If I had a calculator, I could take it further, but we're just going to leave it in exact form like that. Moving on to E, this is what I want to get by itself. So first I'm going to add 6. So 2,560 is equal to this. Then I'm going to divide by 5. So this is going to give me 512 is equal to 8x to the 3/2 power. So I can raise both sides now to the 3/2. So 512 to the 3/2 power is equal to, 2/3 power. That would be the reciprocal. 2/3 power. To be 8x. So what this really means is I need the cube root of 512 and to square that number. Now, 512 is a perfect cube, and that would be one I would expect you to know. So the cube root of 512 is 8. 8 squared is 64. So if 64 is equal to 8x, that means x is equal to 8. Okay, on to F. First I need to subtract 7. Then I'm going to divide by -3. So 729 is equal to 10x minus 9 to the 3 over 2. So my reciprocal of that is I'm going to raise 729 to the 2 over 3 power, which really means the cube root of 729 squared. And again, this is a perfect cube, and that would be a number I would expect you to know. The cube root of that is 9. 9 squared is going to be 81. So 81 is equal to 10x minus 9. So I can add 9 and divide by 10, and I get that x is 9. On to G. First I'm going to add 6. Going to be negative 324. Then I can divide both sides by -4. And I get 81. Oops, sorry, you can't see. I get 81. Now my reciprocal both sides, that's going to be to the 4/3 power. So 54 minus k is going to be the cube root of 81 to the 4th power. Now the cube root of 81 is, my reciprocal is backwards. This is going to be the 4th root of 81 cubed. The 4th root of 81 is 3. 3 cubed is 27. So 54 minus k is going to be equal to 27. Solving further for k, I get that k is 27. Okay, last one before our challenge. Here, the first thing I need to do is subtract 2. I can divide both sides by 3. And now I need to raise both sides to the 3 over 2 power, which means the square root of 4 to the 3rd power is going to equal x plus 1. While the square root of 4 is 2, 2 to the 3rd power is 8. So that means x is 7. Okay, on to our challenge. I've got a fraction here. But don't let that scare you. First thing I'm going to do is subtract 8. So I'm going to have 1,729 over 216 minus 8, which means I'm going to need a common denominator. That common denominator will be 216, so I'm going to subtract 1,728 over 216, and that will leave me with 1 over 216. So 1 over 216 is equal to -12 minus 4x to the -3 over 2 power. So that negative tells me that this is on the wrong side of my fraction. But if I look over here, this is also upside down. So I can take the reciprocal of both of these, so this will be 216, and now this will no longer be negative, so to the 3 halves. Now I can do my reciprocal for my exponent, so 216 to the 3 halves, that's going to be the cube root of 216 squared. 216 is indeed a perfect cube, and that would be one I would expect you to know. So 216 to the 1/3 power will give you 6. 6 squared is 36. So finishing solving that for x, you can add your 12, divide by -4, and you get for the final answer that x is -12. So again, if you had a calculator, these ones like A, B, D, you could take further to find the numerical answer, but for the sake of not using a calculator, you're going to leave them in that